There are very few thinkers in history who didn't just challenge ideas, but completely dismantled the way we think itself. Nagarjuna stands among those rare figures. His work doesn't simply present a new philosophy, it turns philosophy against itself, using logic as a weapon to expose the limits of logic. What makes this so fascinating is that he didn't reject reasoning. Instead, he pushed it so far that it began to collapse under its own weight. At the heart of Nagarjuna's thought lies a radical method. Rather than building a system of beliefs, he systematically deconstructs every possible position. If someone claims that things exist, he shows the contradictions. If someone claims that nothing exists, he reveals the flaws in that too. If someone tries to take a middle position, he dismantles that as well. This relentless process is known as reductio ad absurdum, reducing an argument to absurdity by following it to its logical conclusion, but here is where things get truly mind-bending. Nagarjuna doesn't stop at attacking specific beliefs. He targets the very foundations of how we think about existence, causation, identity, and reality itself. His central insight revolves around sunyata, often translated as emptiness. Yet this emptiness is not a void or nothingness. It is the absence of independent, fixed essence in anything that exists. To understand how he destroys logic using logic, we need to look at how he examines something as basic as cause and effect. Normally, we assume that causes produce effects in a straightforward way. A seed causes a plant. Fire causes smoke. It seems obvious. But Nagarjuna asks a deceptively simple question: how exactly does this causation work? Does the effect already exist in the cause? If it does, then the effect is not really produced, it was already there. But if the effect does not exist in the cause, then how can it arise from it? How can something come from nothing? If you try to say it is both, that leads to contradiction. If you say it is neither, that also makes no sense. One by one, every possible explanation collapses under scrutiny. This is not just a clever trick. It reveals something deeper. Our concepts of causation are not as solid as we think. They work in everyday life, but when examined closely, they fall apart. Nagarjuna applies this same method to everything: motion, time, the self, and even the idea of existence itself. Take motion as another example. When you say something is moving, where exactly is that motion? Is it in the past, the present, or the future? If it's in the past, it's already gone. If it's in the future, it hasn't happened yet. If it's in the present, can you even isolate a single moment that is not already slipping into the past? The more you analyze it, the more motion becomes impossible to pin down, or consider the self. We feel like there is a stable I at the center of our experience. But what is this I? Is it the body? The mind? The memories? If it is identical to these, then it changes constantly and cannot be stable. If it is separate from them, then where is it? How does it interact with them? Again, every option leads to contradiction. What Nagarjuna is doing here is not random destruction. He is revealing that our concepts rely on assumptions we rarely question. We think in terms of fixed identities, clear boundaries, and independent existence. But these ideas do not hold up under rigorous analysis. Logic, when pushed to its limits, exposes the instability of the very structures it depends on. This creates a paradoxical situation. Logic is supposed to give us certainty, clarity, and truth. But in Nagarjuna's hands, it becomes a tool that undermines certainty. It shows that our most basic categories, existence and non-existence, one and many, cause and effect, are not ultimately coherent. So does this mean everything is meaningless? Not at all. This is where many people misunderstand Nagarjuna. He is not saying that nothing exists or that reasoning is useless. Instead, he is distinguishing between two levels of truth, conventional truth and ultimate truth. On the conventional level, things function. Causes lead to effects, people make choices, language communicates meaning. Everyday life continues as usual. But on the ultimate level, when we search for independent, unchanging essence, we find nothing. Everything is empty, not non-existent, but lacking inherent identity. This is why his philosophy is often called the middle way. It avoids the extremes of eternalism, the belief that things truly and permanently exist, and nihilism, the belief that nothing exists at all. Instead, it shows that reality is dependent, relational, and fluid. In a strange way, this connects deeply to modern ideas about reality, perception, and even science. We now understand that what we perceive is heavily shaped by our brain, our senses, and our interpretations. Objects are not experienced directly as they are processed, filtered, and constructed. While Nagarjuna did not have access to modern science, his insights point in a similar direction, that reality as we experience it is not as solid or straightforward as it appears, but the true power of Nagarjuna's method is not just intellectual, it is transformative. By seeing through the illusion of fixed concepts, we begin to loosen our attachment to them. We cling to ideas like this is mine, this is who I am, this is how things must be. These attachments create tension, fear, and suffering. If these concepts are not ultimately real, then our attachment to them can also dissolve. This is why his philosophy is deeply connected to the goals of Buddhism. It is not about winning arguments or constructing theories. It is about freeing the mind from rigid patterns of thinking. When we stop clinging to fixed views, we become more open, more flexible, and less trapped by our own assumptions, and yet, there is something almost unsettling about this. If all views can be dismantled, then what do we stand on? If logic itself can be turned against itself, how do we know anything at all? Nagarjuna's answer is subtle. He does not give us a new foundation to cling to. Instead, he shows that the need for an ultimate foundation is itself part of the problem. It is like trying to find solid ground in a dream. The more you search, the more elusive it becomes. But once you realize it is a dream, the need for solid ground disappears. You can still move, act, and experience, but without the same sense of rigidity and fear. This is why his philosophy can feel both liberating and disorienting at the same time. It removes the comfort of certainty, but it also removes the constraints that come with it. It opens up a space where reality is not fixed, where possibilities are not limited by rigid definitions. In the end, Nagarjuna's genius lies in his ability to use the tools of reasoning to reveal their own limitations. He doesn't ask us to abandon logic, but to see it clearly, to understand where it works and where it breaks down. By doing so, he takes us beyond blind belief and beyond rigid skepticism into something more direct and open. He shows that the world is not as simple as it exists or it does not exist. It is something far more subtle, far more dynamic, and far more interconnected. And by understanding this, we begin to see that the problem was never reality itself, but the way we try to capture it with fixed ideas. In that sense, Nagarjuna didn't just destroy logic. He revealed its boundaries, its assumptions, and its hidden contradictions. And in doing so, he pointed toward a deeper way of understanding, one that cannot be fully captured in words, but can be experienced when we stop clinging to them.